Ulises, we've talked about at times how much the Rays offense has struggled in the early portion of the season, but two guys that have been very, very consistent and have really showed out. One, Yandy Diaz, and two, Manny Margot.
Let's dive deep on these guys, man. I'm looking forward to this episode.
Likewise.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Yandy Diaz and Manny Margot, they just keep plugging along. Unsung heroes of this team for the last several years, I would say, but they're definitely putting it on in 2022.
I think they've always been underrated players. I think always the fandom hasn't really taken to them as much as they probably should have. And if we're keeping each other honest, I feel like we try to highlight everybody in the team. It's not just a one person or two persons that we're talking about. We like to spread the wealth. We know that this is a team mentality thing. So we like to do that on the podcast, but we have to highlight these two guys just for their own episode because what they have been doing is just fantastic. I don't know. I don't know where to start because all of these numbers are so gaudy, but you know what? I do know where to start because the strikeout ratio, the strikeout percentage of Yandy Diaz is at 8%. His walk rate is at 16. The dude is doubling his strikeout rate with walks. Like 1-to-1 is impressive. 1-to-1 is like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. Yeah. The guy is doubling it, people. The guy is doubling it. It's fantastic. Look at that slash, like 293 batting average, a 420 on base with a 402 slugging. That's an 822 OPS. Fantastic stuff. But just the patience, the discipline that Yandy Diaz shows is uncanny, man.
And that's why I am on board with getting him as many at-bats as possible. I am on board with batting him first or second in the order in perpetuity.
Yes.
He is not just a platoon guy anymore. He can hit lefties and righties. And I think that, I don't know, I've looked at the numbers, and I think Randy Arozarena has like 25, 30 more at-bats than Yandy Diaz. I don't think that should be the case. Give the opportunities to the guy who's hot. Give the opportunities to the guy that doesn't strike out, that draws a ton of walks, that sees a ton of pitches, that finds a way to get base hits and hit the ball up the middle or the other way. I think he's the guy that you got to go. It's so funny because in watching Yandy Diaz, I know that he's made – I know that the value historically with Manny Margot has been the defense, but Yandy Diaz has actually made some really good plays at first base as well. So that's another thing that needs to be highlighted. Now, sometimes he doesn't corral all the throws that are given his way, but as far as making a play, a ball that's hit to him, he's done a pretty solid job of that. In fact, I think there was a play the other day where he veered into deep into foul territory and made a over-the-shoulder catch. Like, that's pretty impressive stuff combined. Like, even if he was just a bat, even if he was a DH only guy, those are still very, very impressive numbers. But when you tie that into the fact of what he's been able to do and hold fort at first base with the absence of G-Man Choi, basically the Rays can, the way that Diaz is playing, they don't really need to care about G-Man Choi right now. It's just plug and play, buddy. Plug and play.
Yeah, because there's no platoon needed. I love that you said that, because against lefties, he's actually hitting worse than against righties. Against lefties, he's hitting a 261. With righties, he's hitting 305. And the OPS is where the difference comes. Against lefties, he's having a little bit more success, 848 OPS. Against righties, 811. But those are really healthy numbers no matter which way you're going. So yeah, you don't need to platoon this guy, at least not right now when he is this hot. And I also love the fact of his batted profile. Where does he get the hits to? If you look at his spray chart, people, if you have 3 minutes of free time today, go check out Yandy Diaz's spray chart. And then if you look at that and you don't tell me, wow, that looks exactly like a lefty would hit.
Yeah.
You would say that. You would say that. It's everything is up the middle and then to right field. That's it. He doesn't pull the ball. How attractive is that to have in a lineup? A different look, a different guy with so much more patience, with so much batted discipline. I agree with you. Look, I think last year we were, to kind of veer off the subject, with the Brendan Lau struggles early in the season, I kept saying, just move him down in the lineup. Do not let him face lefties, yada, yada, yada. He ended up heating up, whatever. But right now, the same issue, I think the Rays are maybe not rectifying it, but they're trying something new, which I do appreciate. Put the guy who is just has a 420 on-base percentage leading off. And we have seen this in the last 6 to 7 games. And I am all for that. Yandy Diaz should be leading off. If he isn't healthy, fine. But if he can put the cleats on and be ready to go, 100% he should be leading off, because you already know who's number 2, baby. Number 2 is number 5 with that chain, Wander Franco. So get people in front of Wander Franco with those line drives, and you get yourself a really nice early lead. I love that dynamic of having Yandy Diaz and then Wander Franco at the top of the lineup.
BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline, it is your continued source for all your sport wagering info, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So be sure to head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Ulises, before we get into Manny Margot, you made an interesting point on Yandy, if healthy. That has really been the big problem with Yandy Diaz, the ability or inability to stay healthy. I think, has he only played 100+ games in one season with the Rays? So that's going to be the key going forward for him. And another question I have is, if he continues to produce like this, and I mean, we've always known that he's been a reliable hitter, but he's putting it to another level so far. You wonder if the Rays are going to keep him around for 2023 and maybe beyond that. Like they, come up with a similar deal to what they did with Manny Margot. Now, the difference is the Rays also have some prospects knocking on the door. Curtis Mead, Austin Shenton, Greg Jones, Xavier Edwards, Jonathan Aranda,
but
Isaac Paredes.
Out of all of those guys, who's a first baseman? Like a natural first baseman.
You could put Isaac at first. Curtis Mead, I guess he's playing third and first, but you're right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the issue. Like, you don't have a Nate Lowe. Like, you don't have the next guy up first base mentality. So I think that you're right. That helps Yandy maybe becoming a mainstay like Manny Margot with that extension.
Yeah, and at some point, like, I get you want to give an opportunity to prospects, and you got a lot of guys that, hey, at some point you got to give them an opportunity. But .440 on base percentages don't grow on trees. Strikeout rates and walk percentages like what Yandy Diaz provides. And what's he making? Under $3 million right now. So
What would he make next year too, Kevin? What would because
5, 6, whatever it is, I think you have to pay him. I think you have to pay. If they're willing to keep rolling out G-Man Choi, I would absolutely keep rolling out Yandy Diaz.
Yeah. And I know that platoon is very effective and it can really bring a lot of results. But if Yandy is showing that he doesn't care about who's on the mound, lefty or righty, and he's still going to put 800 plus OPS.
Yeah.
What isn't that the big whoop of like, well, what about production? What about defense? Like, I think this is the first year with at least the defensive aspect of Yandy's game where, because I know who he is, I no longer feel negative about the things that he can do. For example, at third, I know anything that's within 2 feet to the left, 2 feet to the right of him, he's going to catch it. And he's going to be smooth. He's going to have really smooth hands. And that throw is going to be there on time, really strong throw. But I also know that after 2 feet, that ball is getting through. I already know the lack of range of Yandy at third base, so I don't have to get mad at it. And in first base, yeah, sometimes the picks are not going to be as solid. But because I already know that, I know the player, I know what he provides. Once you see these players year after year after year, you kind of know what to expect from them. And this is the first year where his defensive, I don't want to say miscues, but maybe his defensive flaws are not really getting to me as much as they might have in the past. Or I feel like the fandom doesn't really like Yandy's glove, which I think it's, again, underappreciated how smooth it is. No range, but it is very, very smooth.
Not everybody can be Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson. Like, at some point, you got to understand that every player, for the most part, is going to have some sort of flaw or two. And you're willing to take that trade-off if you get the offensive production like you're seeing from Yandy Diaz right now. And here's the other thing. Maybe the fact that G-Man Choi is injured, maybe that gives Yandy Diaz more opportunities, and maybe that's a byproduct of why he's been more successful, because you're not having to play the silly platoon game, but just let me get at bats. Let me get reps and see what I can do. Lefty, righty, ambidextrous, I don't care. Moreover, we know Taylor Walls is playing more third. Yandy Diaz may be more settled at first base. That might be more of a natural position, or more of a position where he doesn't have to worry about as much, as opposed to, again, it's not easy to move from third to first to third. If you're just, then be good at it, be as good as you can, and then go to the plate, 4 or 5 times a day. I think that brings a lot of comfortability factor as well.
Just because they're successful by platooning, that doesn't mean that is their first choice. They have, again, these guys that go to the major league.
It is no big league player's first choice to platoon or to sit out half the ball games.
And you know why? Because they are the 700 most, not the most talented, but one of the 700 most talented people on the planet doing that. And they have never been second best anywhere. They've always been the guy. And so when you get to the major leagues in a team that says, no, 50%, you can do the job fine. You can do the job well. You can be put in a situation to succeed, and that's all very fine and dandy. But in your hearts, you're saying, I can be there 162, or at least, it's 2022. So I can be there 140, and that would be really good. Games a season. I think you see that with guys that don't succeed in the Rays organization is because of that. Like, for example, Hunter Renfroe. When was Hunter Renfroe ever told, hey, you can't handle righties? Never in his life.
Yes.
Never in his life. He doesn't have a good time. They put him in a Red Sox uniform. They go, hey, play. And he's successful. It's just the repetition. It's a very different sport. You need the repetitions. You need to be out there all the time. And maybe that's what we're seeing with Yandy, with more constant, with more stability of saying you're going to be in the lineup all the time. And also the last 7 to 10 days of him being leading off, that must be an adrenaline rush. Like, I get to start the game. I get to be the guy.
Again, when the moment that sticks out to me when Yandy Diaz is leading off is the 2019 wildcard game against the Oakland Athletics, where he hit 2 bombs oppo. Like at that point, it would just be like, all right, Yandy Diaz, if you're healthy, we're putting you in the leadoff spot. I'm leaving it there.
Yeah, I'm 100% like that should be the motto of the Tampa Bay Rays, at least for right now. If Yandy is healthy, he should be leading off. If Yandy is going to be playing, if Yandy is going to be starting, leading off. That, I mean, there is no this guy, no, the other guy. No, none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
Even with that voice. No, you see the Excel. Nah. Get me Yandy Diaz leading off. Wander Franco is going to be batting second, and we're all going to have a good time.
Yes. I can't believe we've gone basically 16 minutes without mentioning Manny Margot. I guess we'll have to talk a little Manny Margot after what? Rock Auto?
Well, you got to save time. You got to save money. You got to save on both of them. So then, you would use Rock Auto, because why choose to spend 30, 50, 75, 99% more for the same parts of a chain store or a car dealership? That doesn't make sense. That's like not putting Yandy Diaz leading off. That would be insanity. All right. That's the same thing. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. That's a long time, people. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could ever need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So you have to explore their easy-to-use website today. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. And Kevin, do you know who also is amazing? Do you know who also is reliable? Manuel Margot.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's so funny. You look at the numbers between Yandy and Manny has an 825 OPS, and Yandy has an 822 OPS, but they're doing a little bit differently. Margot is slugging a little bit more. Of course, Yandy is getting on base a little bit more, but the number that really sticks out to me with Manny Margot are the amount of RBIs that he has. 19 freaking RBIs. Team leading, by the way, by a pretty good margin there. Maybe we put Yandy Diaz in the leadoff spot, and maybe, at least for the time being, we put Manny Margot 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the order.
Is there another way right now? Is there another way? Look, I know Randy Arozarena has to be in that mix. I know Brendan Lau has got to be in that mix. But if they have to be there because of their talent and their reputation and what their production should look like by the end of the season, then there's a 3rd spot, and Manuel Margot has to be in that spot. If those two guys are 3, 4, okay, then Manuel Margot has to be 5th. He has to be somewhere at that, in that action zone with Yandy, with Wander. He's the hot guy right now. I mean, the other day, a 3-run home run on Friday night to just put a bow on that evening game. And then the next day he goes grand salami in Seattle too. What Manny Margot is doing is again underrated, just like Yandy Diaz has been. He sprays the ball all over the field, by the way. Now, again, if you have an extra 3 minutes, go look at Margot's spray chart. It's all over the place. He's not a pull. Yeah, there's a slight pull lean on his spray chart, but it's across the whole field. And I got to tell you, I love that. I love that about him. In the splits, Kevin, have you seen Manny Margot splits right now?
It's similar to Yandy in the sense of doesn't matter if it's a lefty or a righty.
Doesn't matter. Against lefties, 381. Against righties, 288. Oh, against lefties, 887 OPS. Against righties, 802 OPS.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I like how you mentioned his spray chart, because for Manny Margot, I think he knows the opportunity of when all I need to do is push the ball the other way for a base hit. Or, okay, I can turn on this pitch and hit it out. He knows when to pick his spots. I think that's very, very important. And we talk about his 19 RBIs. Those aren't garbage time RBIs, folks. These are game-winning RBIs. These are 8th inning, 9th inning, tight ball game RBIs. Like he
walk-off RBIs.
Yeah, it's amazing what he's doing. And the thing that separates him a little bit from Yandy, obviously different types of players in some sense, but something that Yandy can't do that Manny Margot can do is Manny Margot, in addition to spraying the ball to all fields and having the clutch factor and having a little bit of pop, is he can also, when the time calls for it, lay down a bunt, get on base with that bunt, and steal second within a span of a minute.
Yeah.
That's something that Yandy can't really do.
No, the speed is definitely there, the wheels, and that also helps him with the glove, patrolling the outfield. He is a really good outfielder as well. So I know the outs above average are not really a fan of his work as of yet, or the outfielder jump.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to normalize by the end of the season. But no, that's definitely it. The base running aspect that maybe Yandy doesn't have, Manuel does. And so when you put all that together, this little extension that they did with Manny Margot,
I love that. We loved it before the season started, before he went on the tear that he's going on right now.
Exactly. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to that episode. We bleep and loved it, and now it feels kind of like vindication, knowing we were right. It's when Manny Margot is in the lineup, or in a clutch situation rather. Men on second, men on third, bases loaded, 1 out. When something positive needs to happen, I know something good contact is going to happen. Even if there's a strikeout, okay, maybe there's a battled at bat. I never see Manuel Margot in a situation where you're leaning on him and he doesn't come through, at least not in 2022 so far. And what a refreshing thing that is.
Oh, it's so refreshing. And I feel like, maybe Margot, why he's able, not just the talent that he has, but I feel like maybe the opposition underestimates him a little bit. Haven't we seen times where they will walk somebody else to bring up Manny Margot to the plate in a big situation, and he'll prove them very, very wrong?
You talk about 19 RBIs. Half of those RBIs have been game-winning RBIs. You talk about being underrated to other teams. Yandy and Manuel Margot are both that guy, because who are the names that are highlighted by the opposition? It's got to be Wander, it's got to be Randy, and it's got to be Brendan Lau. The hierarchy, that's the hierarchy if you're another team and you're scouting the race. But Yandy and Manuel fly under the radar. And I think that's really successful for them right now, because they're getting pitches to hit. I mean, in 7 games in May, Manuel Margot is 11 for 25. That's a 440 average, 2 homers, 12 RBIs. I mean, he is killing it. And I think you're right. He is getting by underneath the radar right now.
I think that, also another difference between Yandy and Manny is that with Manny, you can pretty much bank on he's going to be available for 125 to 150 games a year. He's going to, he might make an injured list stint, but he's not missing a whole lot of time. He's going to be available and going to be ready to play. And I wonder, going back into this contract that the Rays gave to him, that if they saw, maybe they saw some metrics internally that showed that he might be ready for more of a breakout in entering his prime. Let's remember, Manny Margot has been in the big league since 2016 when he was a 21-year-old. He is now 27. This is sort of the prime of a professional baseball player's career. 27 to 31? This is your peak right here. This is where you're really settled in and maybe develop more of a power stroke. And there's a reason that, he's on the $5.6 million 1-year deal right now, and then $7 million in 23, 10 in 24. And let's also remember, there's an option for 2025 at $12 million, a mutual option. So he could be a long, long time Ray if all shakes out.
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail right there. 27 years old. I think people forget about that. He's been in the league for a long time, and now he's hitting his peak. And he was never a guy, I think the fandom, even though they underrated him, I don't think they were down on him. I don't think the fandom was like, oh, I don't like Margot. Like, I just don't think they appreciated him as much as they should have. But now he is hitting his prime. I think this was a really, really smart extension by the Rays. 2-3 more years of this guy in his prime. You don't know how much power he's going to collect. I love that about that you said that. Maybe at 27 now he's a 15 homer guy.
Yeah.
Can he? And I mean, and then when you put that into the aspect of good glove, good base stealing, base running, you add the fact that the OPS is getting a little bit higher, the contact is there, the walk rate, the K rate is at a manageable pace. I mean, right now he has, let me check, 13.6 strikeout rate, not too shabby, 8% walk rate. That's we'll take that any day of the week. And so you were saying that he's entering his prime, he's going to be more powerful. This is a slam dunk.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, I do have his Savant page up. His average exit velocity is in the 80th percentile, max exit velocity 77th percentile, hard hit percentage 62nd percentile. That screams, at least 20 home runs if you play 162 games. Not saying he's going to necessarily get there, and it depends on the pitches he gets and how much he elevates, but he's got power in his bat when the situation calls for it. Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, my final point here is you look at the OPS of Manny Margot and Yandy Diaz, they're neck and neck. Manny Margot, 825, Yandy Diaz, 822. By year's end, who will have the higher OPS between the both of them? Or maybe it's the same in different ways.
I think so. I think it'll be very, very similar, but just in the opposite ways. Maybe the slugging will be a little bit higher on Manny, but the on base for Yandy is going to be astronomical. I love the fact that you just said average exit velocity, the max exit velocity, and the hard hit percentage. Manuel Margot has never had in his Savant page, he's never had those three categories be as high as they are right now. Never in his career has he had those three categories be on the reds as they are right now. So this is just entering his prime. I'm really excited about him. I'm really excited about Yandy Diaz. I think the fandom, we should see way many more Manuel Margot jerseys and t-shirts. We should see way more Yandy Diaz t-shirts and jerseys than we see right now, because those two guys are very instrumental on what the Rays are doing right now.
They're glue guys for sure. And it's funny, I don't know if I've ever seen a Manny Margot or Yandy Diaz jersey or jersey. I would be hard pressed. Next time you walk around the Trop, if somebody can snap a photo of somebody wearing a Diaz or Manny Margot paraphernalia, please send that to us, because you're going to see Wander, you're going to see Belau, you're going to see KK, you're going to see Shane McClanahan, you're going to see a lot of Randy, but I don't think that's about it. I don't see, I don't even know if in the gift shop they sell Diaz and Margot.
Very good, honest question. I think I've seen Margot being sold, but I don't know if I've seen Diaz's shirts being sold. But you know what? Let's do this. If you see, or if you own a Diaz or Manny Margot jersey or jersey, whatever it is, if you tweet that out using hashtag Locked On Rays, we are going to retweet it. Everything that if you, the watcher, the listener, use hashtag Locked On Rays, guess what you get? You get a retweet, baby.
Yes. And also it does have to be a Yandy Diaz jersey or jersey. It can't be like Jumbo Diaz. We're going to check the numbers on it too.
They ever make Jumbo Diaz's
I don't know.
jerseys?
Which other Diaz have been in a Rays uniform?
Oh, not a Rays uniform. I'm going to say Matt Diaz, right?
Matt Diaz. It's actually Diaz, I think.
Oh
I think he coaches baseball up in Lakeland, actually. Small world.
That I'll take that conversation on that pronunciation off the air.
Okay, fair enough. So that Margot, Diaz, send us your pictures and we'll retweet it. And also, while you're at it, if you want to just kind of comment who you think will have a higher OPS by season's end. Will it be Yandy or will it be Manny?
Yeah, do it on YouTube. YouTube comments. Yeah. Show us our love. Again, the like and the subscribe button. Guys, those are completely free. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. We really love the support that you guys are showing us. And yes, again, like Kevin said, hashtag Locked On Rays. You get a retweet, baby. Hashtag Locked On Rays. We're making it a thing now.
Heck, Yandy and Manny may be the 2 of 3 guys on the team that get 800 plus OPSs along with Wander. Although Brandon will eventually get there. Randy, I don't know. I'm not sure.
He will. All of them.
All right. You say so. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Bets podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow with a mailbag.